All right, hold on. Ben Burgis, don't fuck me over here.
Over the past, I guess, 24, 36 hours, we have had, and again, you know, like it's impossible to even state facts or vague facts, like prefacing it and qualifying it as like, these are reports that we have gotten from the news, broadly speaking, various news outlets. But I don't know if there are, you know, if there's anybody who has a corner on the truth that is coming out of this region. But there appears to be increased shelling, and I'm not even clear, like, you know, who started the shelling or who's fully engaging in the shelling between Ukraine forces and separatist forces, presumably in the Donetsk, I can't pronounce these two regions, the Luhansk and Eastern Ukraine.
I don't think that Sam has been following this extremely extensively.
And Donbass. And the shelling has been going on. And there was like, there's a video now from someone's helmet cam, which ostensibly is some elite squad of supposedly showing Ukrainian sort of elite special ops type of squad that was attempting to blow up some type of chlorine factory in the separatist region. And they were thwarted, and which sort of conforms with maybe what the administration had been hinting at in terms of a possible, false flag video showing Ukrainian forces trying to.
They could have just opened the window.
Murder of separatists. And
it is super weird to hear that phrase "false flag" being used by like U.S. government officials, because it's one that I normally associate with like Alex Jones.
Oh, I mean, look, it takes one.
No. Russia's willingness to deploy false flag attacks as a pretext for invasion is something that they have explicitly... No, not all false flags are like Sandy Hook tier shit. False flags are a pretty common part of like developing the incentive for warfare or providing pretext for invasion.
To no one. I mean, it's not like we haven't been involved in false flag operations, right. Gulf of Tonkin. I mean, the U.S. Maine, maybe, you know, like we've had plenty of these. And so the bottom line, though, is it seems like, you know, what does the Biden administration do? Presumably they don't want a war, although there's a lot of people out there that feels like they do. But I don't know. What's your sense, the Biden administration? Like, I can't see how they think this is good under their watch, as it were.
Yeah, it's really disturbing because it seems like, okay, so things are, you know, heating up again now, you know, between these like Russian-backed separatist factions and, you know, the Ukrainian government, which I guess it's also worth saying, like, one thing that complicates all of this is that the, you know, like, without making excuses for like Russia's like regional mini imperialism, it is also the case that like the Ukrainian government that exists now, you know, even though, I mean, they did have a real election since then and all this, like, is a successor to a, depending on your point of view, revolution or coup that overthrew a Russian-aligned and very corrupt, but also democratically elected government. And
how is this even remotely relevant to the... so this is what I don't get. Like, everyone wants to bring this up. What does that have to do with what's happening right now? What relationship does this have to the logistical question right now of like pretext for invasion, its likelihood and justification? Like, what?
And that includes like lots of fighting that's being done against the separatists by like very strange, like far right kind of groups in the Ukraine, right? So
both sides field far right militias. It's not. It's this narrative. It's the Russian narrative that that the Ukrainian government is like controlled by Nazis and they field Nazis, and you know, and the Russian government totally doesn't field, you know, far right groups.
All of which is just to say that there isn't a, you know, I think that kind of the image of this as a besieged, like nice democratic country, I think might be a little bit misleading. But
what is that? What? First of all, not to say it's perfect or anything, but as I understand it, Ukraine does have a democracy. What is this nice? Like, this is literally he was no angel in Ukraine. Like, okay, so before we talk about like, the invasion of Ukraine, like, they're not like great, their history is like not great, like, I just think this narrative that they're super nice is like, like, why are we doing this?
But yeah, I mean, I think that it's been really disturbing because even before this heated up, I mean, like, there was this really strange spectacle for a while where, like the president of the Ukraine, all right, I will, Ukraine, I know you're supposed to leave off the definite article. I will
I've
do
struggled
that.
with that as well, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, usually my joke is just that, like, they should have been nicer to my family if they wanted me to leave off the definite article, but as the descendant of people who had to get out of the Ukraine in a hurry. But yeah, I think that, like, there was this weird thing where Ukrainian officials were saying, no, calm down, right? There's not going to be an invasion. And it seemed like the Biden administration was saying, no, there definitely is going to be. And it seemed...
Why are so many lefties insisting on interpreting this as anything other than a very straightforward political strategy on Ukraine's part to indicate that they're not willing to cede any concessions to the Russian government? Ukraine keeping their cool does not mean that it's unjustified for countries that aren't Ukraine to point out that Russia is like mobilizing for war. Like, this to me reads like a pretty simple geopolitical reading, and I'm not like a big geopolitics guy either, I mostly talk about American issues. I feel like this whole invasion stuff has been pretty educating for me, or pretty educational for me. I feel like it's been formative because I have to learn about some stuff, but I feel like, I don't know.
Very unclear what the end game would be, and it seems just like an incredibly dangerous thing to saber rattle about, because even though...
That's not what saber rattling is. Saber rattling, here. That's not how you type words. Saber rattling, the display or threat of military force. That's not what that is. Saying another country is planning on invading is not the same as you saying you're going to invade. Biden said the opposite. He said he wasn't going to deploy troops.
So it's probably extremely unlikely that there would be like a war that the United States would be directly involved in. I mean, like, if you think about how many times the United States and at that time the Soviet Union came to, like, obliterating the world in the 20th century, and that seems like something you really don't want to mess around with.
Russians are doing nuclear exercises today, is my understanding. What I would imagine to sort of like, as a way of maybe increasing the stakes. But I mean, was your sense that the Biden administration was saber rattling? I mean, they were clearly getting out ahead of where the Ukraine government was. The Ukraine government, my understanding is, was losing like billions of not the government, but the economy had been losing billions of dollars over the past couple of months because of fears of a Russian invasion. And so they're in this sort of like bind where, on one hand, I imagine they want some attention in the event that they at one point thought that maybe Russia was going to invade. We still don't know. Maybe Russia is still going to invade. We just don't know. The United States is not as concerned about the Ukrainian economy, I would imagine, as they are as to their desire for there not to be an invasion, right? I mean, that's my sense. Like, I can't quite figure out why would the Biden administration could certainly be far too arrogant and thinking like, Ukrainians don't understand. We have more intelligence or this and that, whatever it is. Look down and be condescending about it. And you're not going to take the lead. We're going to take the lead type of situation, even though we're not really actually going to fight if there is an invasion. But we feel like stopping it, it's worth the billions of dollars that your economy loses because we want to raise the stakes in terms of Russia doing this. And we need for our own domestic, I guess, ability to have the Senate vote on sanctions or whatever it is. I mean, I guess one
question I always have about this is like, what's the, because we think about the United States like having, like, just sort of naturally having this role in the world, but like I don't think we would normally ask what like the, what like what should Russia have done to stop, like pick your favorite U.S. Unjustified intervention in the world, right? Like should
What? Russia has supplied armaments to countries that we've invaded or threatened invasion to many times. Does he remember what the Cold War was? Russia has specifically provided military support to other countries we were planning or actually did invade before. That was the whole Cold War. That was the entire Cold War. That was the thing. If Russia asks us for military aid, then why wouldn't we? Why not?
Should Gorbachev have done something to stop the invasion of Panama, for example? And that's not clear to me. I mean, like, given that escalated superpower tensions is really bad, given that even though it's extremely unlikely there would be a direct war, it is a potentially catastrophic thing to mess with. That it seems like it could be possible both to say that that like Russia's actions are wildly unjustified, and also that having the United States play this kind of role in like sort of facing off over it, and
we're not facing off over it. We were asked to provide assistance to an allied country, and we did. We're not engaging in any pretext of potential military involvement.
Escalated tensions is still not what should be happening.
Right. I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? It's like we'll never know. I mean, if it's unclear if the United States is, even if their intention is, the administration's intention is to avoid a war, it's unclear whether A, they have the ability to do it, B, whether their intervention makes it more likely, C, we'll never know one way or another, regardless of what happens. I mean, because...
And it feels like to me that I don't think they want war either, but they're not going to tone down the rhetoric or the, not even saber rattling, but I've been saying this throughout the conflict, the chest puffing, in order to ensure that war won't happen. Because I believe there's a perception in the administration that they took a hit on Afghanistan. And that's why we saw this, press conference from Biden that no one asked for about, oh, we assassinated the ISIS leader that you were so terrified about. I mean, no one knew his name, and the new one will emerge in a second, but we got him, and 13 other civilians as well. And now it's like, let's look really tough on Russia here. Even though my belief is that the average voter who has very little understanding of or care about what's happening in Ukraine right now.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I also wonder, like, I understand that the optics of the way that the pullout from Afghanistan happened, like, were really bad, but still, I mean, I think if it were, up to a popular referendum, the United States would have gone, like, left Afghanistan long before it did. I mean, I think the polling is, like, really clear on that.
Why are we talking about Afghanistan?
I wonder if, even as a cynical political calculation, it's actually, I mean, I guess this is what you're saying, Emma, but how much sense it even makes in those terms, right? Like is it really the case, like, that that anywhere near the top of the list of reasons for Democrats to worry about the midterms or whatever is this perception of being not tough enough in terms of projection of American military power abroad?
It's not. We're not using our military. It's the.
Oh, I think. I mean, I do think that Biden feels like, I came off as a little bit cucked because we got humiliated, as opposed to the actual exit. Because the American public, and certainly not the right, doesn't care one whit about Afghanistan. If we did, he would not have split, stolen essentially the Afghan $7 billion. Right. And taken half of it and then decided how we were going to deploy the other half in terms of humanitarian, supposedly spending in Afghanistan. Nobody in this country cares about the Afghan people. I'm not, obviously not nobody, but the body politic does not care about the Afghan people. It's really just more about, like, the same sort of rhetoric about Obama apologized in Egypt. He apologized, like we look weak, and it is literally that sort of substantive. Which is to say, not at all. It is completely, and one of the things, and it's maybe there's a good opportunity to pivot to what's going on with the Democrats right now. One of the things that has always sort of, like, this is their logic.
I feel like this is a very US-centric analysis. I really don't think that the American government and Biden's response to the situation has been that motivated by internal pushes for political popularity at all, really. I don't think the average American cares that much about this outside of like, ooh, threats abroad. Like Biden isn't really fear-mongering about like Russia invading America or whatever stupid bullshit they could pull. You know, he's not pulling a Putin move and pretending that they're going to be invaded. Yeah, I don't know.